Built as the world's fastest speedway, Talladega never disappoints. The infield's filling up, and soon the track will be busy with final practice for the Monster Energy cars. Temperatures climbed up just into the 70s on a beautiful spring Friday. Track temp up to 103 with a lot of sunshine. Well, we've had one round of practice and a good bit of drafting. We got to see who's fast. We got to see who needs to do a little work. Now what? Final practice.
I think Jeff will agree with me. What I always found about Talladega, when you came off the truck, if you didn't have a good car, you couldn't make it a good car. I mean, you could beat it to death and work on it until you're blue in the face. You had what you had. But I think what really impressed me and what surprised me, almost 203 miles an hour in the draft today. These cars are bad fast.
Well, and that's what I saw, was that you're going to have a car that's going to have to be pretty stable and be secure with these ride heights. Now the cars can be really low, spoiler out of the air, and they're going to be drafting extremely fast. That was only, what, 7 or 8 cars in that pack. You get 20, 30, 40 cars out there. Wow. So I think you might see in this practice them work on what they can do in the back of the car to add a little stability.
All right, remember, this is final practice. Qualifying tomorrow. It's an impound race for Sunday. Let's go down to the garage. Vince.
Well, Mike, the last time we were at a plate race, of course, that was the Daytona 500, and Austin Dillon won that one and celebrated, probably still celebrating, and will celebrate forever as a Daytona 500 winner. But boy, would they like to put another one in the win column here this weekend at Talladega. And it's his birthday, by the way, today for Austin. They were pretty pleased with their car in that first practice, said it was a little tight to start, then it got a little free, and Jeff Gordon mentioned the key word, stability. That's what this 3 team will be looking for here in this final practice this afternoon. Jamie Little?
Well, such a difference from the Xfinity garage to the Cup garage. There is so much busyness happening down here because of the rule changes. And I talked to Paul Wolf, the crew chief for Brad Keselowski, and he said now that we don't have this ride height, we can work on all 4 corners of the car. So they want to go out in this practice session. They want to focus on the draft. So I've heard a lot of the Ford drivers talking. They want to get together, run together. And the 2, Paul even told me that they even want to do a mock qualifying run at the end of this practice just to know what they have for qualifying, Mike.
All right, thanks, Jamie. Now here are 15 championships represented as Chad Knaus is making fun of Dale Inman's flip phone.
I got 8 championships.
You hear that? Dale says, I got 8 championships. He's only got 7. He can use any phone he wants. And now for something plaid. If you weren't with us in the first practice, I've never seen a plaid race car. Darrell, have you?
No, I don't think I have.
Nope. Well, now we've seen everything. I've seen Jackie Stewart's.
Plaid, though, right?
Well, Jackie Stewart's tartan plaid around the Stewart colors around his helmet, but not a whole race car.
I thought it's flannel.
Well, flannel is a material. Flannel is not a pattern.
You're right. You're right about that.
I think there's a bit of a debate here.
Well, if it's fast, it won't matter what it is, will it?
Fast flannel. Fast flannel on Fast Friday.
Boys, we got a lot of action happening right now.
It's going to get a little bit crazy here, boys.
Now, Kyle Busch took off. He's in turn 3 already. There are a couple other cars on the racetrack. But mostly, there's a draft that's going to form up here. And it's going to be 16 cars long when it gets formed. Like these 2 groups.
It's going to get good, brother.
Good.
I like this. I like what I'm seeing.
I don't know if Kyle Busch is trying to make a qualifying run here, but it's going to get pretty much squashed by this huge pack that's ahead of him. He's midway down the back straightaway. That pack's going into 3, and good chance he'll get a draft off of that car. And that's exactly what you don't want to have happen if you're trying to make a qualifying run.
Yeah, Kyle went out by himself. So did Timothy Peters and A.J. Allmendinger. And then there's this.
I think he's far enough back that he might get a teeny bit of help, but he's not going to get a whole lot. That big pack's way ahead of him.
Wow, this train's running on time.
Yeah, look who's leading it. A couple guys been pretty successful here lately.
Where's Jamie Mack? He had the fastest lap.
He's probably back in there about. I don't see him.
Whoa, Kyle Busch to the top.
That tells you he's getting some help.
Oh, well,
You can see them,
yeah.
they're helping you.
No, that was just a get up to speed lap for
he
those
was
other
the first
guys.
car to really put in a clocked lap.
Well, that's a single car run,
Yeah.
193 miles an
Yeah,
hour.
these guys are all, they're going to get into the 47s.
They're going to get into 205. I'm
Look at
just
that
shocked.
draft. How much the 78 car pulled up to the 21 and went right on by.
I think we're going to see some serious speeds here, boys.
Here we go. Jamie Mack, 2011. Brendan Gaughan, 201.0.
And that was kind of getting up to speed. They hadn't got the water warm yet. That's what my dad
Don't
always-
get into sitting on a hot stove.
Oh, no.
Like you described this place last week, okay?
That's what my dad always said. Son, you didn't run long enough to get your water hot.
Okay. Ice water.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
In your veins.
Not pass water.
That's an old saying. I heard that years ago. I didn't realize other people hadn't heard it. I surely don't have to explain it.
That's okay.
I think this is a sign. It tells you what these teams are focused on. Rarely do we see them do this much in the draft and practice, especially the final practice. But Daytona was an eye-opener for so many teams on how bad these cars handled. And now they're out there in the pack trying to get the handling going.
Holy moly, look at that.
203.
And that's one of the reasons why when you're having to draft and be nose to tail inches away from one another at 203 plus miles per hour.
And Mike, it's a 2.6 mile racetrack. It feels like about a half mile when you're going that fast. That back straightaway goes by in a hurry. I think they'll be quicker yet. I wasn't kidding when I said we might see 205.
I love that shot. Look at the sparks coming off the 17 to Stenhouse to the front fascia of the 4 car of Kevin Harvick. Pretty cool.
21 cars now in this pack as they fan out 3 wide through the tri-oval.
Dude. That's almost 204, 203.9 that time by.
And still Jamie McMurray fastest.
Now, one thing that I think to take note of is they left pit road pretty much single file. They caught some other cars. In the race, they'll start side by side, and they'll run side by side, maybe 3 wide for a little while. Then they'll get single file. You'll see some of those big fast speeds. But unless all cars get lined up single file, in the race, to get to 204, that's going to be, if it happens, it's not going to happen very often.
Well, just hold on a second, because this is going to be about 204 and a half right here.
Yeah, I think they came up on some cars in traffic.
Just pretty much settled in right here to 203.9. That's right on the edge of 204, obviously. But there was some passing going on, so they stay hooked up. I think they got 205 in them.
Look at McMurray. He has a big run down.
Oh, we got one spinning.
And it's McMurray.
Man, that thing is flipping, rolling.
That car is junk.
You got that right.
Well,
just
he
hope
went
he's
for a
okay.
ride right
He
there.
had been incredibly fast. He got a huge run off turn 2, caught a pack of cars, made a quick move, and ended up in the fence.
Mike, it just really wouldn't surprise me to see some kind of maybe adjustment on the speeds here, because the cars are really, really fast.
Yeah, that happened way too easy.
And he's climbed out. Jamie McMurray is out of the car. Thank goodness.
Crew members are all, standing around at 13. One of our faster cars. There's McMurray out of the car.
All right, let's see what happened here as McMurray had a big run coming off 2.
See the 31 of Newman with a pretty good run. No, he maybe cut a tire.
Something happened to that car. It just went around all by itself on the straightaway.
And see, what really sent that car over was when Newman hit him on the left side, it lifted the right side up and caught air.
Yeah.
And look at that car come apart against the fence.
It just disintegrates.
I mean, everything did its job of what it's designed to do. The fence kept the car on the racetrack. Car stayed intact.
Watch this car now. It's gonna turn all by itself right there.
Oh, the left rear. The left rear tire.
Yeah. Right over the top of Newman's car.
Yeah. Newman and Ty Dillon both with a good bit of damage.
And Mike, the two fastest cars, the 1 and the 13, were both involved in that accident.
That's right. Now watch the left rear on the number 1.
Yeah, you can see it start to turn sideways. He's trying to adjust to keep it going straight. But once he turns back to the right, the back end just has no grip to keep it going in a straight line. Now see, I think the car's fine. Started to lift a tiny bit, and then contact from the 31.
Yeah. When that right side started to come up just that little wee bit, and then the 31 hit him in the left side, it just flipped him over.
But I think that's what NASCAR is going to be looking at, is that right side came up a tiny bit and caught a little air, even just before the 31 made contact. And that goes back to what you were saying, DW, about how fast these cars are right now.
They're just blazingly fast.
Ty Dillon.
Keep going middle, check up below.
Looks like he checked up, got hit from behind.
Yep.
Who's that rolling back there, Ty?
He flipped big, arch just tore up. Get it back.
Ty had done our Fox Procast, was happy he had won the first practice session.
Pretty
now
amazing
that car's
view from our
pretty torn
visor
up.
camera.
Well, thank goodness, look, there's safer barriers right there. He kind of goes above them a little bit, but nonetheless, safer barrier there in this situation.
And a lot of reinforcing in that catch fence to keep that car contained and on the track surface, and all of that infield area has now been paved. This is riding for Kevin Harvick.
You could almost see that left rear starting to go a little bit low right there.
We got a wreck behind you, one down the road. Big wreck, flip it.
You know, the thing that's scary as a driver in that situation, you just don't know when it's going to stop rolling. You're just holding on tight. You don't want to feel one of those big impacts, which it didn't seem like he did, but it just kept going over and over.
Yeah, I know Harvick wasn't in it, but his spotter sure was calm and cool.
Jamie McMurray had the fastest car at Talladega. Once again, Jamie climbed from the wreck after that car flipped violently several times down the backstretch and into the catch fence. Jamie is okay. They've already unloaded the backup car for him. Ryan Newman, who collected McMurray, also with damage, and Ty Dillon. That's 3 really fast Chevrolets taken out in this. Now McMurray's the first car in the middle lane. Newman behind him.
Looks like the car starts to wiggle just a little bit right along there.
Right there.
And then here she goes.
No contact between them.
Now let's see the right side of the car. It's coming pretty good,
Yeah.
pretty good. And it starts up, and once that right side's off the ground a little bit, the 31 just flips him over.
NASCAR, before we went into Daytona, was saying that they had increased the liftoff speed by 30 miles an hour with some of the aero changes they had made, trying to prevent just this kind of happening.
Well, Mike, I love fast race cars, and I love watching cars go fast, but we're at 204 miles an hour in practice, in a practice draft. I just don't know where those speeds might end up, and I think that's going to be something that they're going to have a conversation about.
Daniel Suarez also involved. Apparently he was the car that made contact with Ty Dillon. And I mean, all 4 of those cars were right at the top of the practice speeds.
Yes, sir.
Goodness.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things to diagnose there. One, why did the left rear tire go down? Was it rubbing? Was it, air pressure? What was it that caused it to fail? And then the other is that car getting a little bit of air before the 30. There's nothing you can do about a car when it makes contact and sends that car up into the air and then rolls over. But there's certainly things that NASCAR can be looking at. Like you said, DW, maybe slow the cars down if that car can get air all by itself when it turns around.
We're going to take a ride through this accident scene with Ty Dillon, who's wearing our Fox visor cam.
Going middle, check up below. We got front from behind. Who's that rolling back there, Todd?
1.
And you could just see his head just move slightly right before he started to go around because the 19 of Suarez made contact from behind.
A cut left rear tire sends Jamie McMurray's car to the scrapper. This is the history of Talladega. That was Bobby Allison, cut tire. Brad Keselowski in the 99, Carl Edwards, and I think that was Ryan Newman. Elliott Sadler. Heavy metal music, heavy metal to be sure. And Jamie McMurray cuts a left rear tire, spins sideways, the car starts to lift, and then Ryan Newman gets underneath and sends him into the air. He's been released from the care center. Here's Vince.
Well, and the best news, Mike, is to see Jamie McMurray walk out of the care center after that incident. What's going through your mind at over 200 miles an hour when you realize there's a problem?
Well, I think I blew a left rear tire out, and you know, when you're going that fast and you get turned sideways, you kind of know someone's going to hit you. But it's crazy like how quiet the car gets. And I've been racing forever, and I've never done the roll like that before. And I just kept my eyes closed. I'm not gonna lie, because I didn't really want to see what was going to happen. I opened my eyes a couple of times, but you can't tell what's up, and you can't really tell where to brace yourself. And I just, in my mind, was like, I just hope it lands on the upright so that I can get out. That's a huge fear, I feel like, as a driver, is to have the car land upside down and be on fire, because you're so disoriented trying to get out upside down. That's hard, and so I was just thankful that it landed right side up.
You just saw the replay for the first time. As you watched the replay, what's going through your mind?
I mean, just kind of watching how many times it's tumbling, right? You just, I think as a you know, a race car driver, those are the worst positions to get put in. When you blow a right front tire and you see the wall coming, you kind of know how those impacts are going to be. You know how to brace yourself. When it's tumbling, you can't tell where the impact's going to come from. You also don't know when it stops, is there going to be more cars coming? I don't know how many cars were out there, but I felt like we had a bigger draft than normal. So I mean, there's just a lot of unknowns.
Thanks, Jamie. Glad you're okay. Mike.
Thanks, Vince. You see Ricky Stenhouse narrowly missed this one. Ryan Newman not so lucky. As that car goes up in the air and rotates over once and then just keeps on turning. 4 cars piling up in the back straightaway when the one of McMurray cuts a tire. Ryan Newman involved, Ty Dillon and Daniel Suarez. Here's Vince with Ryan Newman.
Well, and as we said for Jamie, it's great to see Jamie walk out, and the same said for Ryan. What can you do in that situation? Anything?
Well, I lived through another one, so thankful for that. I got to thank the man upstairs, and you know, it obviously he blew a cutter left rear tire and turned sideways in front of me. I had nowhere to go. I was on the brakes, but when you're going to 260, whatever we're doing, it's just nothing you can do. So I was along for the ride. Unfortunately, his car got airborne. Something needs to be addressed there, but it was not what we wanted in second practice there. We typically don't do second practice, but we'll have a good Caterpillar Chevrolet for a backup car. I'm sure that primary engine will be out of this primary car, put in a backup car, and we'll see how fast we can make it on Sunday.
Glad you're okay. Thanks, Ryan. Jamie?
And Ty Dillon was second on the board. They're over 203 miles an hour. You will be going to a backup car for just the second time in your career. What's going through your mind in that moment when you're seeing so much moving around? We're going to go for a ride here. Go on board with you. You're carrying the camera for us.
Yeah, first of all, going 203 mile an hour, things happen quick. So I saw a run come from the 19. We were moving around the 17. It waved me off, and I saw the one turn. And as I checked up, that line behind me couldn't get stopped. They hit me in the right rear, and at that point, going that fast, there's nothing you can do. Just hang on tight and unfortunate to see a car get up in the air like Jamie did. I'm glad he's okay to see him walk away. You can see me leading that pack, and the 19 just hit me in the right rear there. Thought I had it saved, and then I just couldn't hold on to it. So we're running so much skew, and the way that NASCAR's opened up the rules to be able to get the cars so low, everybody's pushing the limits, and I think they cut a tire. So that's kind of unfortunate. You know, you push until something breaks, and unfortunately it did on the one. I got our Geico Camaro. We were super fast and really proud of the hard work that's gone into it. But I think our backup car, the guy said it's called Jingles, and it's never finished outside the top 10 at a speedway. So we're going to go to that, use the same setup we had. I think it's going to have a lot of speed. So proud of my guys' effort. Bad start to our Geico 500 weekend, but we have some speed, and that's very exciting for our team.
What are your thoughts, though? Now you won't have time to jump in this backup car and practice at all. You're just going to have to go out there and qualify at this place with these speeds. What's that like?
You know, I think I've got the feel that I needed. When you come to a super speedway, you just want to kind of get the cobwebs out, I guess, and I knocked them out pretty good there. But I feel pretty comfortable about what it takes. I feel like our setup is right for what the race is. So we'll throw that in this car. Hopefully everything measures out the same. We'll have plenty of time between tonight and tomorrow to get that figured out and just race like normal. You go to the back and the front so many times during these races, it doesn't really seem to matter anyways. But I guess we'll just hang out and help them transfer some parts from this car over to the new car, and just kind of be moral support and do whatever I can.
Thanks, Ty.
Thanks, Jamie.
Mike, I want to make a point. We've had wrecks like that and worse when we run 180 miles an hour. Now, I know speed's a big factor. You have less reaction time the faster you go. But we've had wrecks at this racetrack. You can't stop a car at 180 miles an hour. You can't stop a car at 203 miles an hour. That's a fact of life. So it's not like this is unusual, but the speeds are a factor.
Said his backup car is Jingles. Have you ever heard that name?
Was it Mr. Bojangles?
Well, no, that was Bojangles.
Oh, Jangles.
When I was a kid,
that guy.
Saturday morning TV, Wild Bill Hickok, his sidekick was Jingles Jones, played by Andy Devine, the guy with big, high, squeaky voice. Well, you remember stuff when you were a kid. I don't remember what we had for lunch, but, you know.
Guys, we talked about Jamie McMurray, possibly a left rear tire. That was Greg Stucker, one of the lead engineers with Goodyear, that was talking to Jamie. And, you know, I know they've made a little bit of a construction change with the right side tire, but this is the same left side tire that we've been racing here since October of 2014. So I'm sure Greg's just trying to get to the bottom about what Jamie felt with that tire.
And Larry, I mean, I know with no ride height rule, and we see how low these cars are in the back. I think that's one of the things that teams are probably looking at and being sure they have enough clearance on the quarter panels, up in the wheel wells and everywhere else for this tire to be at these heights that we're running at. So that might have been something that rubbed a hole in that tire or caused it to go down.
Well, and I think you bring up a really good point, DW. And the thing is, McMurray fastest on their time chart. I mean, that is by far 46.94. That's faster than they've gone. So you know when you're going faster, it's going to travel even further. And I wouldn't be surprised on a little bit low air pressure. It wasn't out there for very long. That sidewall was flexing. Car was down. Probably rubbed through that sidewall if I had to guess.
Agree. And you know the funny thing about McMurray and Ty Dillon both, they were not leading the pack. They were in the pack, and they were able to put up those fast speeds because they were taking advantage of the cars in front of them.
And this might not be the case for all the drivers out there right now, but for Jamie McMurray, for Ryan Newman, maybe Ty Dillon, it just got real. Like 200 plus miles per hour is, man, that's cool. We're going over 200 miles per hour. That's amazing. When things like that happen, all of a sudden you go, wow, okay, 200 miles per hour plus means that these cars can get airborne, and those types of things happen, and that's when it gets your attention.
Yeah, I think the only saving grace in the whole thing is he kind of left rear tire down. I mean, if the car
wasn't just the car got
right,
there.
It wasn't like the car just got out front and went up in the air and it turned over. I mean, there's a reason why it did what it did.
And I walked out of the car.
Yeah, you know, that too. I mean, it's amazing how these guys can flip and roll and walk away.
And you put that speed in perspective. When we flew here, I mean, a 737 has a takeoff speed of about 165 miles an hour. So that's what, 40 miles an hour slower than these cars were going. Yeah. Of course, it intends to lift off. These don't.
Good point.
Big difference there.
Daniel Suarez, his team has a decision to make here, Jamie.
They really do. And Scott Graves, his crew chief, standing at the front of the car now in the garage. He told me he's not so much concerned about the suspension. There is some damage in there, but he said just the nose, if you look at that, there's a lot of damage to have to fix and get it just right. I saw his driver, Daniel Suarez, just walk over to the medical center, but they have the backup car out, and Scott just told me he's going to let NASCAR know here in a minute, but he's leaning toward backup. That would be the 4th for this weekend.
Yeah, and Jamie, the thing is, these cars are so meticulously prepared, every little detail on them, and now you got some body damage here. You've got to really think long and hard about, do I want to fix this car or do I want to pull out another really pristine car that I know nothing's wrong with?
Now, the group of cars out here right now, these are all Fords, mostly teammates. Well, half and half. Of course, Logano and Keselowski, but they're with the Stewart-Haas cars. And apparently this wasn't the best laid plans for a single car draft, was it, Brad?
Yeah, the cars are just driving so bad they can't even run the bottom around the triangle. Do you not want to jump out of line like that? I can't tell where the hell they're going. They keep switching lanes. I thought maybe you guys are doing something. Head forward.
They're doing something. They're hanging on.
So as you come through the tri-oval here, there's one lane with a transition in it, and you can see that bottom seam, how it goes into a triangle there in a pie shape. That lane in that transition is really awkward. And so when you come through there, as you cross over, it flattens out and makes the car be ill handling. Then that's under normal circumstances. Now you have a car with less, downforce because of how low these cars are on the racetrack. You get into a draft, all of a sudden, that became a big issue. And I think that's where they're going to have to start thinking about handling and having a little bit more grip in the back of these cars for the race.
Yeah, Mike, you come through there, you don't want to be turning to the right at all. And really, when you come through the trial here, most of the time, you're just neutral. You're not turning the wheel left or right. The car is almost just following the track as it comes through there. And if it's at all loose, you can't handle it.
And this all changed when they repaved this racetrack. When they repaved this racetrack, I'm not exactly sure how many years ago that was, like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. That area changed. There was something different that they did. You didn't usually have that shape and that transition in that lower lane.
It's just been confirmed Daniel Suarez will go to a backup car for Sunday's Geico 500.
Yeah, other than the starting position here is not all that critical. In a very few laps, you can start in the back and be in the front if you wish to. So qualifying here doesn't really handicap you that bad. But see, let's watch Harvick's hands as he comes through the trial. And you can see he's turning a little bit to the left. That's what you want. You just don't want to be neutral or hanging it to the right a little bit, because you can't stand that in the race.
Yeah, by yourself, it's like a Sunday drive down the highway, no big deal. It's when you get into the draft and the air is moving over the car, and the car just doesn't have the grip that it would in this scenario. That's when that transition and how that car's handling in that part of the racetrack becomes a real issue.
And as good a driver as Kevin Harvick is, if you could see his eyes right now, Mike, his eyes are not blinking. His eyes are probably a little larger than normal because he is focusing so hard on hitting his marks.
What if he'll be doing that when he's calling the race tomorrow for Fox? At Talladega, this is Ricky Stenhouse, who just steamed his way back into the garage after being all taped up for mock qualifying round.
It was pretty steamy last night in the draft, I'll tell you that. It was a fun show to watch.
All right, let's join Jamie.
And Kyle Busch is finished with practice for the day. So we're talking about the no ride height and how it's different for crew chiefs. Kyle, do you feel much of a difference driving the car here?
You feel a little bit of a difference, whether you're on, what kind of right rear spring you got going on and stuff like that. You can kind of feel the stiffness of that, and the overall ride quality of the car is definitely a little bit different. So, everybody's trying to get the back of these cars as low as you can for as long as you can, with the straightaway speed and everything meaning so much of these places and the average speed being so fast. You just try to maintain that average for as long as you can. And that's kind of where it's at. But overall, I feel like our M&M's Camry's been good. We got a little bit of draft practice, first practice there, and kind of playing with our teammates a little bit, kind of seeing what we had going on, and then just did some semi-mock runs right there to base our speed and see where we're going to be tomorrow. But overall, it's about all you got when you come to these plate races anymore these days. Is not much tuning. All these guys are pretty smart at what they're doing, and being able to get you squared away right off the truck.
right, Kyle Busch going for 4 wins in a row here, guys.
And Jamie, earlier this week, he said his chances of winning his 4th in a row at Talladega were no better than his chances of winning Powerball. All right, so here's the math. He is 1 out of 40 cars in the race. The worst his odds are to win Sunday, 1 in 40. To win Powerball, 1 in 292 million.
I like his odds better.
I think he's just trying to take some heat off of himself, because he runs really good everywhere he goes. He finished 3rd here, I think, a year ago. Yep. So I think his chances are even better than 40 to 1.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I like? He's the only guy in the field that has a chance to win 4 in a row Sunday.
And he's riding a streak of 7 top 3 finishes in a row.
How about a Larry McNugget?
All right.
In 1972, Bobby Allison came here sitting on 3 consecutive wins, came up short, finished 3rd. 1993, Rusty Wallace came here, 3 in a row, came up short, finished 6th. And how about 1987? Dale Earnhardt Sr. already had 4 in a row, going for 5, came up short, finished 5th. So a driver has never come here and been able to accomplish what Kyle Busch is trying to accomplish.
So this track is a streak buster, right, Larry?
A streak buster.
Yeah. You want fries with that?
And that's your Larry McNugget for the day.
I know I wouldn't want to have to come to Talladega and try to keep a streak going.
Okay. Well, this practice has certainly changed and has become one of single car runs for drivers like Jimmy Johnson, currently 11th fastest. Here's Jimmy and Chad.
Get done. 1 lap. Yes, Jimmy, you're going to roll out, stay on the bottom, all the way through the exit of 2 so we don't get in trouble. Top side 3 and 4, bottom. Come on back around. The legend is going to meet you out there, and he's going to open the grill. You can do a pit road, come around, do another pit road, and then we'll be done.
You got that?
Yeah, I got that. So that tells me it's 1 qualifying run, mock qualifying run, and then pull some tape off so it doesn't overheat.
And you know what? And Jimmy Johnson loves that. Chad tells him exactly what he wants him to do. And Jimmy goes out and does it. Now, a lot of drivers I've known in their career would probably say, what do you want to do that for? You know, how come you want to do that? I don't need pit road once. Why do I want to run a lap? Not Jimmy Johnson.
I just want to know who the legend is that's going to pull the tape off the grill.
That's the question of the day.
What I always like about legends, can you live up to it?
See that seam right there on the right side?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, and that's what we're going to be probably talking about some more in this race on Sunday, and watching cars try to stay off of that seam or how they transition up and below that seam. That's where it upsets the cars in the draft.
That looked like a pretty single car run right there, and that was a 49.04 for the 78 car.
There's the legend.
Pull tape off. Can't just anybody go over the wall and pull that tape off.
He's the engine. He's the engine tuner.
You got to be a legend.
Vince.
You know, it's interesting. I think from that audio that we just played from Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson, and you could hear similar type of audio throughout the pit road, or when you talk to the crew chiefs and the drivers. Everyone has a very specific plan down to the exact lap. I mean, nothing is done by chance here or really any track we go to, but there are certain things on the agenda that every team, or the teams in particular, want to check off. They have a plan lap by lap, and I thought that was great insight there from Chad Knaus and his explanation to Jimmy Johnson, an indicator of how exact this science really is.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I was hoping we were going to get a big story on the nickname of the legend, and it turns out that is an approximation of his last name, Stephen Legender. He's the engine tuner.
That's a good nickname. That's a good last name to go with that nickname.
That's it, the legend.
I'd be more inclined to believe that guy standing on top of that truck right there was the legend.
Well, 7 championships? Yes. Yes, you would.
You know, DW talked about the 78. I thought that's a pretty good lap, 49.0. When I look at some other cars that made single car runs, I didn't see anybody faster than that so far. Not a lot of cars have made those runs. We don't know how much tape they're carrying.
Yeah, 49 3s and 4s and 5s are what I was seeing on cars that did single car runs. So that was pretty fast.
Well, and that Harvick lap right there is a 49.5.
Was Kurt Busch a single car run? A single lap?
Kyle was, and he ran a 49.46.
Kurt had a 48.91, but I'm not sure if he was the only car
that sounds
on track for a single lap.
Sounds fast.
Yeah.
For a single car.
And yes, that 41, that was we don't know how much tape he was running, how full mock it was, but that was just a single lap run.
And that's the quickest we've seen then of those would be Kurt Busch so far. A little over 5 minutes to go in final practice. Kevin Harvick hopping out after his final run, 49.59. Now 2 of his Stewart-Haas teammates had a quicker mock qualifying run. Kurt Busch 48.91, and Eric Almirola leads all drivers at 48.79 as far as mock qualifying speed.
That is fast by yourself.
And especially since you have to qualify in race team. This is a race trim.
Right.
This is an impound race. This is puppies playing. How do you know?
Now who let the dogs out?
But you know, Mike, on this race trim, qualifying
night.
trim, I just think it's who's getting the most aggressive with that skew that Ty Dillon talked about, getting that right rear out of the air, which you certainly can do for qualifying, and get it back out for the race. And then I just think getting that back down, but getting that front sealed in the racetrack, there's a fine line between really fast speed and just decent speed there.
Thanks, Larry. William Byron out for a mock run here. Let's join Vince.
With Eric Jones, one of the top 5 on the speed chart. Does it feel like you're going almost 203 miles per hour?
It feels fast, yeah. I know when we went to Daytona earlier this year, it felt really fast, and it definitely feels fast again here today. So,
what gives you that speed sensation? When you say it feels fast, what makes it feel fast?
Well, it's kind of weird when you're all in that big pack. It's like going down the highway. You don't feel like you're going that fast until people start moving around and making mistakes and things are happening. So you really know when you're going that fast when you go for a ride and you spin out and you realize how long it takes you to slow down.
Did you like your car?
Yeah, I did. The XY Network Camry was good. We found some good stuff in the race trim that made it drive nice, and overall it's handling well. It's got good speed, and that's all you can ask for at Talladega. So we'll see what we got tomorrow in qualifying, but I think we got a really good race car nonetheless.
Mike?
Thanks, Vince. He's 4th on the speed chart. I mentioned Byron. He was not on a mock qualifying run. He was out there drafting with his teammate Alex Bowman.
But Mike, Eric said something, and Jeff knows what I'm talking about. When your car is handling well and driving well, you don't really feel like you're going 203 miles an hour. It's when that sucker's all over the place jumping around, and that's when you say, how fast am I going anyway?
It's going to be really interesting to see qualifying tomorrow. We saw this 88 Alex Bowman sit on the pole at Daytona. Talk about skewing the car, trying to get that spoiler out of the air. But yet this is an impound. It was an impound also in Daytona for the duels. So who's going to be able to get that car to go fast and still handle well in the race?
Well, final practice is going to come to a close here, but note that 4 of the cars here, the top 3 and Newman, are all going to backup cars because of that pile up early on when Jamie McMurray cut a left rear tire.
Yeah, I was just going to say the 88 car is pretty straight up looking, not skewed out too much.
A difficult practice. Jamie McMurray did not get contacted by Ryan Newman. He simply cut down a left rear tire. Then Newman got into him as McMurray's car got sideways. 6.5 barrel rolls. And he walked away. Newman's car also damaged. So was Ty Dillon and Daniel Suarez. They have all gone to backup cars. Jamie?
48.9 was the last lap for the 41 of Kurt Busch. He was a single car effort there, focusing a little bit on qualifying. So Kurt, you guys kind of did it all in that practice session. What's your takeaway about your car and what you guys have?
Yeah, I felt like we went through a nice checklist, race trim, Q trim, things in the draft with guys. And man, I saw the cars as low as they are this time around. It's like the cars are another 1.5 inches lower than where we were at Daytona. And I'm like, man, make sure we don't have tire rubs. And that's what bit McMurray. And that's awful that, that happened on lap 5 of his run. So for us, we're just trying to make sure we do our homework and not instigate any problems on our own. And the car is showing really good speed. So really happy with our Monster Energy Ford. Doug Yates always brings us great horsepower. But then, our lead engineer, crew chief, our car chief, everybody has to work together to work around the different new rules. And so far, so good with the 41.
All right, Kurt Busch looking for his first win at Talladega, Mike.
Well, he'll certainly be a threat for the pole here tomorrow. Just pole qualifying for the Cup cars, but a big day for us on FS1 and Fox. Xfinity qualifying on FS1 tomorrow. Then we'll have Cup qualifying for you at 1 Eastern, then NASCAR race day. And at 3 p.m. tomorrow on Fox, Kevin Harvick leads the all-driver broadcast team for the Xfinity Series race. Should be a lot of fun. We'll see you tomorrow.